D-Mace, Vingen and Donick, 1025, 1063 The Game, broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Adam Vingen and Derek Mason here with you. Willie Donick will join us momentarily. I hope everybody is having a wonderful start to their Friday. You know who's probably not having through 4 games. I believe they have had a longer losing streak to start a season, but this is the first time they've gone 4 games into a season with 0 standings points. And it's still early in the season, but with each passing game and each loss that mounts, it's starting to feel a bit concerning about what we've seen from this Predators team so far. And Willie is not here to give us his positive outlook on the Predators. Willie Donick, the glass half full correspondent of DVD. Willie has mentioned many times, as we've discussed the Predators, that they started 5-10 last season. He is right. The Nashville Predators lost 10 of their first 15 games last year. 5, 10, and 0. There's a big difference, though, between last year's team and this year's team. Last year's team had no expectations. How many preseason predictions did you read, did we talk about last season, where the Predators were predicted to miss the playoffs? More than you would think.
Yes.
Barry Trotz set expectations. He has set modest expectations. He said, we could be sneaky good. We could be bad. But he preached patience. And the Predators had a better than anticipated season. They made the playoffs, which, again, not very many people predicted them to do. So, yes, they did start last season 5-10. The difference is that this summer, Barry Trotz maxed out his credit card. He paid a total of $108.5 million on 3 of the biggest free agents on the market. When you do that, expectations are high. The grace period that we gave this team last year does not exist to me this year. So 0-4-0 is unacceptable. And it just, for whatever reason, Derek, the team has been unable to gel, which last year, again, it made sense because it was a new coach and all of the players were learning about Andrew Brunette and what he wants them to do. And although there are multiple key newcomers on this team, the majority of the team is returning from last year. I'm having a hard time understanding exactly what I'm seeing from this team. They did get their first lead of the season last night. It lasted 6-7 minutes. They've scored 4 goals at 5-on-5 in 4 games. With the firepower that this team has, it's just mind-boggling what's been going on with this team in the first week plus of the season.
Yeah, I don't understand it. You look at the acquisitions that they made in the offseason, and those acquisitions brought along a expectation, a standard. You brought guys in that are what you deem serial winners. You brought guys in that are goal scorers. You got guys that frankly are damn good players and can help you change the fortune of your franchise. And so the expectation was there the minute you started to spend money, because for years, this is what we talked about with the Nashville Predators. Spend money. Well, it was, we don't have the money yet to spend. And I get it, because the NHL salary cap is a hard salary cap, and you can't just invent money that's not there. In hockey, that money doesn't grow on a tree right outside the arena. It'd be nice if it did, but it doesn't. So when you have the funds to go out and get the top free agents at their positions, then there's an expectation that comes with that. And there's an expectation from the guys that are already there. There's an expectation from the newcomers that are coming in. There's an expectation that head coach, GM, so forth and so on. And then obviously the crowd, being that the fans, because you're selling them on, look at what we did as a franchise. We are serious about winning around here. And make no mistake, I believe they're serious about winning. They want to win, but it just hadn't happened for whatever reason. And I'm trying to, I guess me, the novice, sort of hockey guy, is trying to figure out why this is happening. Is it UC Saros' fault? As much as I love UC, I'm going to sit here and tell the truth. I like him as a player. Hadn't met him really as a person, but as a player, he's top on my list. And if you get rid of him, I'm done with your Nashville Predators. Joking. I'm just playing. But I believe in what Saros can do. But I'm also a realist and say he's not playing well. And I don't know if it's all his fault or is it the guys in front of him. I can't say, well, he's in a new system. Well, he was in this system last year, so he know what to expect in front of him. But I can also say, well, we got some new guys here, and they're all still trying to figure this thing out. I understand there are 77 games left, 78 games left.
78
games left in the season, and this thing could turn around in a heartbeat. All it takes is a slap shot. That's all it takes for a season to turn around. And that may happen this upcoming game. Who they got? Detroit this weekend?
Detroit on Saturday afternoon.
So they get a chance to to redeem themselves from the loss earlier, last week. But they need to figure out what's going on, and they need to figure out how can we gel as a team quicker. And maybe, just maybe, it's not, because I know what Coach Bruno is trying to do. He's trying to find the perfect combination.
And I think he's overthinking.
Yeah, and that could be the problem. There's no perfect combination. Find some guys, allow them to play some games together, more than a game or two, and see how that goes. Because not only are you probably frustrated that you can't get things going, how do you think the players feel that 1 minute they're on this line, the next minute they're on this line? And I get it. It's a chess game. It's not checkers, so you're trying to find the perfect match. But these guys, they don't know, like, the next day whether, that's like us three being in here as a team, DVD. But then tomorrow it's Nick. And then the next day is David. It's like, I don't know who's going to be in that seat. And that's not good for camaraderie. That's not good for a team to gel. But again, he knows his team better than I will ever know his team. But I'm just thinking players may think, man, let's just stick with, they may not say it, or they may have voiced their opinions. Let's just stick with a line and let's go with it and see how that works. Let's go with it for more than 2 games.
Jonathan Marchessault, who was one of those high-profile free agents that the Predators signed in the offseason, scored his first goal as a member of the Nashville Predators last night. He had some interesting comments after the game. This is Jonathan Marchessault on the team's mindset after 4 games.
Yeah, I mean, right now I think we're a little fragile group. Like, we're at the beginning of the season, it's not going like we want. And, like, in the offseason, everybody says how good you guys are going to be and everything. And we maybe have to think that we're a good team, but not good enough. We got to work harder than the opponent. And sometimes it's that's something that they did last year. And that's as a new guy, I just want to come in and try to jump in that boat and help them be successful again. So, yeah, it's really disappointed for a group, but preparation starts right now for Saturday.
You feel like execution with the puck for you guys is making progress and getting better? Where do you feel like that is right now?
Yeah, I think a lot of things is lacking. I think our D zone was a lot better today compared to the other games. I think like the third goal was kind of a fluky goal, like block goes right to an open end. That's a tough one to have. So, I mean, the game was right there. But our neutral zone, we got to be a little cleaner. We got to pass like tape to tape passes. Our forecheck, we got to be a little bit more connected. It's not just to the first two forwards to go. I think it's as a unit of 5 out there. I think we're a little bit disconnected, and it's those things definitely that we got to clean up.
How do you correct the
That was Jonathan Marchessault after the game last night. I don't love hearing that the team is fragile after 4 games, especially a team with the veterans it has, with Roman Josi and Philip Forsberg, Ryan O'Reilly, Steven Stamkos, Jonathan Marchessault, Luke Shen, who played his 1,000th NHL game last night, multiple Stanley Cup winners in that dressing room, multiple playoff MVPs in that dressing room. Don't love the sound of a team being fragile after 4 games into a season.
Yeah, that's not what you want to hear. I think what happens sometimes, and you know, he said it. People, you know, when you make these moves, everybody's patting you on your back and telling you, "Great job, y'all gonna be a great team. Look at all these guys, man. I can't wait to see y'all get on the ice." And frankly, you start to believe some of that stuff. The more you hear it, the more you think like, "Yeah, we are gonna be damn good." Like, because you believe in yourself as a player, and you believe in the other guys that they brought in. So you're thinking like, hell yeah, we're going to be a damn good team. That's right. But then you get into the season, and then things are not going the way you believe they should go based on the talent that you have in that locker room. And I think sometimes you do. I probably wouldn't have used the word fragile. I probably would have found another word. But he's probably right. Like, there's some reflection going on. This is a reflection time now going on with this team. I know what you said. I know what everybody said y'all would be or should be, but what are y'all now? Look in the mirror. Who are y'all now? Y'all are a disjointed team right now. All 50-something, well, how many guys are on a team?
23.
23 of y'all. All 23 of y'all should go in the mirror, one of them real long mirrors. All 23 of y'all, 24, need to stand in it together and realize that y'all are not at this point. And I'm not saying anything that he just didn't say. At this point, y'all are not the team y'all thought y'all were going to be. That goes from the captain on down. The head coach, put him in there too. Barry, put him in there as well. We are not the team that we thought we were going to be. Look at it. Look at who's in that mirror. Find a way to change it. How do we change that? Because right now, take that that booklet of that preseason booklet of him saying how great y'all were going to be and y'all were going to be one of the contenders. Take that and tear it up. Tear it up and be honest with yourself and write a new chapter. Who are we now, and what do we need to do to become the team that people said we should be at the beginning of the season?
Yesterday, when we were talking to Elliot Freeman of Sportsnet NHL Insider, we were asking him about the second line, and he was talking about Tommy Novak in particular, and how it might take 40 games for them to really get a good feel, for what that second line could be, what Tommy Novak could be as a second line center. When you lose your first 4 games of the season in regulation, you have much less time to figure it out. And to this point, I did a little digging this morning with the assistance of the NHL, which has a great stats and information department. Mm-hmm. So the current NHL playoff format has been in place since the 2013-2014 season. Now, when COVID happened and they had to do the playoffs in the summer, it changed a little bit. But the NHL has had its current playoff format in place since 2013. I asked the NHL, how many teams have made the playoffs in that stretch, starting 0-4-0 or worse, at least 4 consecutive regulation losses to start a season? How many teams do you think have made the playoffs since 2013, starting a season with at least 4 consecutive regulation losses?
Oh, wow.
There have been 6 of them. No, let me rephrase. Mm-hmm. There have been 6 teams that have started a season at least 0-4-0 since 2013. Mm-hmm. not including the Predators this season, not including the Avalanche this season. How many of those 6 teams have made the playoffs?
0.
1.
Hmm.
1. So you will hear it's early.
It was 2, D-Mace. That's what it was.
You will hear it's early. The Predators still have time. That is true. They definitely still have time.
Mhm.
But recent history suggests that they have a steep hill to climb to get back to where they need to go. 6 teams since the 2013-2014 season, when the NHL instituted its current playoff format, have started a season with at least 4 consecutive regulation losses, and one of them has made the playoffs. So usually the point where, Elliot Freeman uses this all the time, and he's actually done the research. I don't have it in front of me, unfortunately. But oftentimes it's American Thanksgiving. Teams that are in a playoff position or within a few points of a playoff position at American Thanksgiving, more often than not, will make the playoffs.
Mhm.
So the Predators still have some runway between now and Thanksgiving. But it starts tomorrow. I mean, they absolutely need to get a win tomorrow at home. And by the way, how come the Predators can't win at home anymore?
Mm.
They've lost 6 consecutive home games when you include the 3 games they did not win in the playoffs at home against the Canucks. The whole point of Smashville was the home ice advantage. Where has it gone? They do not win at home anymore.
They got to regain that somehow, some way. Home should be a place where, you don't allow anyone to come in and, walk around with dirty shoes on. You don't allow somebody to come in and just open up your refrigerator and take one of your favorite cold beverage. You don't just let somebody walk in and start making eggs on your stove. You don't do that because it's your house. You got to respect my house. I run this house. The Nashville Predators they have to figure out, how do we get back to running our house first and foremost.
Absolutely. And we will see if the Predators have the opportunity to do that tomorrow when they host the Red Wings at 1 o'clock. All coverage here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We will get heavy into the Titans and Bills during the show. Vic Carucci, longtime Buffalo reporter, will join us in the next segment. But some other interesting news that broke within the past hour or so. Jay Cutler, former NFL quarterback, former Vanderbilt quarterback, was arrested on Thursday night after a traffic crash and faces 4 charges, according to the Franklin Police Department. He was charged with driving under the influence, possession of a handgun while under the influence, failure to exercise due care to avoid a collision, and implied consent.
Man, that is, again, that's the lack of judgment. It doesn't mean he's a bad person, because I'm sure he's not. But it's just a lack of judgment. You chose to get in a car after you've had enough drinks that makes you crash into somebody and whatnot. You just gotta be responsible, man. You have to. And then it's great to own a gun. I mean, I own a gun. I own 2 of them. But you can't put yourself in a position to whereas, one, you shouldn't be getting in the car, when you've had too much to drink. And then on top of that, you got a firearm in your car. You must didn't read that law that
He actually had 2, according to the story, including a loaded pistol.
I mean, I have my pistol in the car. I have a loaded pistol in the car. But I know that I can't get in the car after I've been drinking, because the probability of something happening goes up tremendously. So I just hope this is just a blip on the screen for him. Thankfully, no one got hurt, including himself. But this is one of those things that, it's just a judgment thing. Again, he's not a bad person. I'm not going to sit here and get on him and crucify him. I'm not. But he just has to make better decisions. And the decision he chose to make last night will cost him moving forward. It will cost him possibly his gun license or his ability to carry a gun. It could possibly cost him losing his license. It's going to cost him money, period. So, you just got to think very long when you do something like that.
One texter on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, in response to why the Predators don't win at home anymore,
Mhm.
says, look at the stats for most expensive games to attend in the NHL. The Predators are the 9th most expensive game. I don't know what the source of that is, but the
Yeah.
Predators are the 9th most expensive game to attend while continually putting a mediocre product on the
You
ice.
know what I want to say, and I don't want anyone to take this wrong, because it just could have been an isolated incident. And I've watched every game this season, with the exception of the first Detroit game, because some reason I couldn't find it on my television. But I either have watched it on television or I've been in the crowd there. And the last game I went to was the Dallas game. Thank you, Chase. But I'm sitting there, McCall and I, and there was no energy in the place. There was none. It was like, what are y'all like? What's like? This is y'all team's first home game. Like, I don't care if they are losing. You should be cheering and screaming and yelling. And it wasn't that way. And I get it. They were down. I understand it. It was Dallas, and I get all that. But it's the first game of the season. That play should have been more energized than what it actually was. And again, it could have just been a one-off. So I'm not going to sit here and beat them down for that. But if you want to make this place a place where it's hard for the opposing team to come in, y'all know this. It's got to be loud. It has to be demonstrative. It has to be a place that the players on ice, they feel it on the ice. And right now, at least in a Dallas game, it wasn't that way. I don't know how it was last night because I didn't go, but in the Dallas game, it was no way near that. And I was like, I'm asking her, like, where is the energy at in this place?
It's a good question, but as I said, the Predators have lost 6 consecutive home games when you include the 3 games they lost in the first round of the playoffs last season to the Canucks, and the first 3 games of this season, home games. They will have another opportunity to win a home game tomorrow afternoon against the Red Wings. All coverage here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game. The game starts at 1 o'clock. Coming up next on DVD, Vic Carucci, longtime Buffalo reporter, will join us. We'll get the Bills' perspective of the game this weekend against the Tennessee Titans. Tune in to 94.9 The Fan this Sunday for coverage of the South Point 400. Coverage will begin at 12:30 p.m., and the race is set to start at 1:30. Coverage also available on the 94.9 The Fan app and at theGameNashville.com.
D Mason here. Mark your calendars. November 9th. You got to get your tickets. It's the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Tour. It's headed to Music City, Nashville on November 9th. Don't miss this event, November 9th at the Fairgrounds, Nashville. It's time for an amazing motorcycle show centered around and brought to you by the female riding community. Remember, it doesn't matter what you ride. If you ride your Iron Goddess, it doesn't matter. You need to get your tickets and the info. Go to the website, Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com. That's Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com. Again, November 9th. Buy your tickets. Can't wait to see you there.
Join Jarrett Stillman, Chris Sanders, and Derek Mason at Twin Peaks in Cool Springs this Sunday for the pregame show from 9:30 to 11:30. They will break down the Titans' Week 7 matchup against the Bills and give you the latest updates before the game. The pregame show is presented by Parman Tractor and Equipment, Sun Deck Nashville, Sloan's Motorcycle ATV, and award-winning Blue Note Juke Joint and Blue Note Crossroads Bourbon. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. And speaking of the Titans and Bills, we are pleased to be joined on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, by Vic Carucci, longtime Buffalo reporter. Vic, I was pleasantly surprised, I guess you could say, to see that Josh Allen has not thrown an interception this season. I have since learned that this is the longest streak of his career, 6 games, without throwing an interception. What's been the secret for Josh Allen so far this season?
Yeah, it's a pretty remarkable stat, and it is one of those ones that catches you sort of after the fact. But I would say it has it's a combination. It's, first of all, Josh and his level of discipline to not force throws that he is inclined to do, because great quarterbacks, guys with those special talents and arms, will do that. It's a default setting. The other thing is Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, who begins his first full season in that capacity, finished the last half of last year after being promoted to replace the fired Ken Dorsey. His game planning, his play design, and his emphasis with Josh has been tailored to that, to being not necessarily conservative, but seeking more of those higher percentage throws. Now, I will add this addendum, and I know we're going to get into Amari Cooper, but in terms of what the receiving core has been for the bulk of this year, it hasn't been one that gets great separation, that invites him to feel like he wants to, challenge defenses in those deeper, high-risk throws, just on the basis of the types of receivers he has. Maybe that changes, or at least the Bills are hoping so, with Amari Cooper joining the team.
So let's talk about Amari Cooper. A big trade earlier this week, acquiring him from the Cleveland Browns. I see the expectation is for him to make his Bills debut on Sunday against the Titans. Let's dive a little bit more into how Amari Cooper could or will transform this Bills offense.
Yeah, I think coming in the door, he is an immediate upgrade over anything they have in players who catch the football. And that was evident to me. That was evident even before the season began. The way they approached the offseason after releasing Stephon Diggs and then Gabe Davis to a lesser extent, but still your numbers 1 and 2 receivers are out the door, and nobody who truly qualified for either of those roles was brought in free agency and in the draft. Keon Coleman, they moved down, they get him on the second round, big target, but mostly a guy who, if he's successful, is going to win a lot of 50-50 balls. He is not a take the top off the defense type of receiver, at least that I've seen so far. So the approach was they were going to rely on Josh Allen to elevate receivers that he had. And I'd say it wasn't going all that well, particularly in the 2 games prior to the Monday night win against the Jets. And the only returning guy, Khalil Shakir, mostly a slot guy. So you bring in Amari Cooper, and you have that guy. You have a player that defenses have to respect for his ability to make those big plays, to run those precise type routes that he can run, and find his way into deep into those secondaries. And then Josh, it's up to him to, of course, make that connection. Now, as far as impact, how long does that take? I mean, they are going to put him out there because right now he's signed for 11 games, more if they make the playoffs, but this is an $800,000 roughly investment of the $1.2 million that he is due to receive in salary this year. Cleveland taking care of those first 6 games. So it'll be interesting to see, how much playing time he gets. I would suspect that, he'll get a good amount, but 2, how fast and up to speed you can get him in a matter of, days leading up to this game.
We'll talk with Vic Carucci, longtime Buffalo Bill reporter. Now, Vic, is there any fear? Because you did sort of mention the receiving core and how they're not getting separation. But you look at the fact that Josh Allen, who's been prone to throw interceptions, he hasn't turned the ball over. Is there any fear now that he has him a legit number one that he may revert back to the things that he did when he had a number one with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis was there as well, trying to make those throws to those guys?
Right. It's a fair point. It is absolutely something to look at, right? Because the temptation is when you've got that kind of weapon, when you've got that kind of player, certainly you're going to be hungry. And think about Josh, the mindset. He's gone through 6 games now where he really hasn't had that opportunity to consistently challenge what defenses can do from a deep ball standpoint. And if Amari is breaking free, which I suspect he will do from the jump, at least once, twice, maybe more, Josh will look for him, and maybe those will be those kinds of balls that are riskier. But I'll say this: I think I mentioned Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator. The other thing that this team has incorporated, the other element that this offense has incorporated more so than it has in recent years, or certainly in the last couple, is a run game. And you saw it on display Monday night with the rookie Ray Davis running hard and making the most of his time in there while the starter James Cook was out of the lineup with a toe injury. And Cook is back, by the way, or he's at least trending to be back for Sunday.
And that's what I was going to ask you, how much the running game has affected what Brady calls, because when you can lean on a running game, and you said it years before, they couldn't. Josh Allen was their run game.
Right.
But the older he gets, just like Ben Roethlisberger, you can't put him in those situations because you're going to expose him to injury. But having that running game with the two-headed monster, this is something. Do you believe this is something, and do the Bills fans believe this is something that really can put them over the hump? Because I've always said, listen, you don't have to out-throw Patrick Mahomes. What you got to do is keep Patrick Mahomes on the bench.
Right. Absolutely. Yes, I do think this has the potential, and I'm going to kind of couch this a little bit, because I'm not going to sit here and say, sure, they bring in Amari Cooper and boom, this is a ticket stamp for New Orleans for the Super Bowl. And none of us would say that really under the best of circumstances for either of these teams going into this game. But I do think that the way Brandon Beane, the GM, has built this thing here, it's been methodical right along. Have they made the occasional splash move? Sure, bringing in Von Miller, and it was a risk a couple of years ago, given his age, given the injury history with his knee, and you saw what happened last year. You basically didn't have him after the knee injury he suffered on Thanksgiving Day 2022, and now he's suspended. But that's a separate issue. But the point is, they have generally been building with the notion that, okay, you got 17, you got Josh Allen. Now it's about making everything around him effective enough to complement what he does. And that is really the Kansas City model. Now, I will also say that Kansas City, it's hard to compare them with anybody because of exceptional coaching, a Hall of Fame tight end to go along with a Hall of Fame quarterback. But everybody else on the surrounding cast, it just has taken me back, because I've been doing this long enough. I followed that whole Patriot dynasty, right? And what would happen? The faces would change, but except for one, basically on offense, and that was Tom Brady. And these weren't dynamic superstar future Hall of Famers on offense, right? For the most part. You had Randy Moss, but those were occasional visits of some players. In Kansas City, we're kind of seeing the same thing, with injuries, of course, causing the cycling through. In Buffalo, they made a value judgment to not go to the wall to get somebody because their cap wouldn't allow them. They've been in Super Bowl ready mode from a tight cap standpoint and had to pull back from that this offseason. Now I think if they can be a legit contender this year, and I do think they have the chance because it looks fairly even in the conference AFC, but we got a long season to go. But if they do and weather this, then next year you got a chance to maybe add more pieces.
Vic Carucci is with us, knows about as much as the Buffalo Bills as anyone we could bring on here. We're glad to have him on. So, Vic, you're the right guy to ask this question. Given all that you just said there, what's your early sense? Because as you said, when you're in a window and you've got some key pieces and you're going for it, there are some tough decisions that have to be made, and the faces do change. So if you were to compare this Bills team to some of the best in the last few years that have been so close, do you think that they are better than they have been, or is it too early to tell that yet?
Yeah, I'm going to cop out and say too early to tell. Because here's the thing, guys. Let's not lose sight of this. You guys saw Monday Night Football, and that was a game easily the Bills lose. If a fairly reliable kicker, Greg Zuerlein, at least I thought he was. I still think he is. I know it was a typically sort of windy night in MetLife Stadium, or windy game, but I mean day or night there. We know how the winds swirl around that place. But that's his home field, and he acted like he was kicking there for the first time, and then doinking those two kicks off the left upright. That's a major point of how this outcome went, and then the exceptionally crazy officiating of 22 flags, 11
that
on
was
each
crazy.
side.
That was
right?
absolutely nuts.
That was nuts, and one of those was a hold that eliminated a potentially go ahead touchdown that also for the Jets that could have decided the game. There were a lot of those moments, and again, same for the Bills too. But their kicker misses a field goal, misses an extra point. This game was ripe for the Jets to pluck for Aaron Rodgers on not the greatest of nights for him to really pluck from the vine and win the game, and they didn't do it. So for Buffalo, it was, I think, in some ways, at least semi-transformative. Now they got a 2.5 game lead in their division, and that's a big thing to have after 6 games, a cushion. And you look at their schedule, and look, this opponent. I mean, having the Titans come to town, I know, if they take any kind of letdown or feel like they are on top of the world, and this is just a gimme game, that will be foolish. I think to do that any week, but I think in particular, coming off the enormity of what Monday night's game meant, short week, Titans come to town, watch their film, watch the video, watch everything, and say this doesn't, these guys just don't look like somebody that we're going to have to worry about. I'm saying the players and coaches might be saying that, but if they even are reasonably focused, that game and other parts of the upcoming schedule put them in a very good place to keep this division on lockdown.
Vic Carucci, longtime Buffalo reporter and columnist, joining us here on DVD. Vic, thank you so much for joining us. Enjoy the game.
My pleasure, guys. Anytime.
Vic Carucci joining us from Buffalo. 615-737-1025. Coming up next, we heard from DeAndre Hopkins yesterday about the possibility of being traded within the next few weeks. What did DeAndre Hopkins have to say about that? We'll share that with you next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
A bar. No, this is Derek Mason. You heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you set out to lose weight, chances are it's not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds only to come up come up a few pounds short. At Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his team understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test, supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you. Listen, I went over to Cool Springs yesterday. They did blood tests. I sat down with the nurse and I talked about, my body and how I was feeling. So they had a comprehensive plan for me, and they will do the same for you. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. If they can do it for me, they can do it for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey has become a success story.
In a mood or happy where you are right now? I love my life. I love where I am. I'm present. So God put me where I need to be, and He always will. So I play football.
I'm curious with what
That was DeAndre Hopkins. asked about possibly being traded by the Titans in the next few weeks. Sounds like he's happy to be here. Although, in these situations, I've asked plenty of players about being traded at the trade deadline over the years. That's sort of the boilerplate response. I'm happy to be here. It's out of my control. We'll see what happens. I like living here. I like my teammates, all of those things.
Yada, yada, yada. God
Right.
put me here. Yeah, everything.
Right. But depending on what happens over the next few weeks with the Titans, DeAndre Hopkins might be on his way out the door. And on ESPN.com earlier this week, Bill Barnwell had a story where he tried to put together, I believe it was 12 win-win trades in the NFL. And the first trade on the list, DeAndre Hopkins traded to the Kansas City Chiefs for a 2025 fifth-round pick. Barnwell writes, in part, quote, "What the Chiefs need is someone who can step in and take Rashee Rice's spot in the starting lineup without requiring any sort of serious commitment for next season. Looking around the league for veterans who fit that role, there's an obvious fit in Hopkins. He's owed approximately $6 million over the remainder of the season, but the 32-year-old former Texans star is a free agent in 2025. Barnwell later writes, quote, "Hopkins isn't the player he was in his prime, but he is still a productive receiver. He has 175 yards across the first month of the year, but he has run only 73 routes. He averaged a healthy 2.2 yards per route run a year ago and is at 2.4 yards per route run this season." So, Bill Barnwell playing armchair GM, DeAndre Hopkins.
He does a lot of that.
He does. And I think he does a good job. DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs for a fifth-round pick. If you were Rand Carthon and you got a call and that was the offer, what do you guys make of that?
I mean, I'll take it if you're going to give me a fifth round. I'll try to get a fourth round out of it, conditioned on whether how far you go in the playoffs, if how many snaps he plays, how many receptions he gets, touchdowns, etc., etc. So there would be also something tied to that where it could be, it can elevate to a potential fourth. He wouldn't be a replacement for Rashee Rice. He just wouldn't. I don't know where Barnwell gets that from. I guess it's just a body. So he would be replacing a body. But what Rashee Rice did for that Kansas City offense, D-Hop doesn't do if you brought him. Rashee Rice was the fast guy, one of the fast guys. He was a guy that was a deep ball threat. He was a guy that can catch the ball at 5 and go 50. He had that sort of quick twitch that you need at that position to get off and go. That's what he had. What D-Hop would bring, I think what they're missing outside of Travis Kelce is a red zone threat. That's why you bring a D-Hop, red zone threat and third down. You just called out the numbers, 2.2 last year, 2.4, yardage. He basically runs
yards per route run,
which means he's just a tight end. That's what he is. I'm not saying he's a tight end, but I'm saying the numbers suggest the routes he's running, he's a tight end. So you bring him in if your red zone is lacking, if your third down is lacking, if you're looking for that guy that just going to catch the football, because we got to remember, Kansas City has had trouble with guys catching the ball, and you can't lean so heavy on your rookie to be the guy that sort of cures this ailment that you have. You got Travis Kelce, you got Juju Smith-Schuster. That's why they brought Juju back, because he gives you another really good pass catcher. He's not a deep threat. Juju's not a red zone threat. What you would bring, what D-Hop would be going to Kansas City for was the depth, obviously, someone that you know is going to catch the ball, and a red zone threat. That's what he would be for your team. You're not bringing him in to get the ball down the field. That's not what you're doing. You're bringing him in to have another reliable pass catcher for your quarterback. You're not bringing him in because he's going to all of a sudden, make this offense explosive. They're explosive when they have the speed out there. When Rashee Rice is out there, they're explosive. their explosion with D-Hop will come in the red zone, which is valuable, especially as you start to get later in the season.
I've thought about this a lot. You know, I for every Bill Barnwell that says the Chiefs, you can find another couple that say the Steelers, right? We've got both. To me, that's the ideal scenario, is if you could get the two teams to sort of compete, drive the price up, because I think that's what you want to do, is shop around as much as you can and wait until that value goes up, and maybe the deadline gets it up to a fourth pick. That's what it's all about, I think.
Well, it's funny you mentioned the Steelers, because when Derek and I were talking about this the other day, that's the team I mentioned. And as I was watching, I believe it was Get Up the other day, Jason McCourty, who's now a member of the media, he's all over the place, I feel like.
Used to do a radio show on 102.5 The Game back in the day, when he was playing for the Titans.
I believe it was also co-sponsored by the Tennessean.
I'll take partial credit for launching.
There you go.
The media career of Jason McCourty.
I imagine
we knew he was really good.
I
back
imagine
then.
when he gives his broadcasting Hall of Fame speech, he'll say, "Those radio shows I did with Willie Donnelly."
He should.
What years were that? What years were those?
That's when he was playing. I'm going to say it was. It was
14,
when Jake
13?
Locker. It was when Jake Locker was the quarterback. So what years were those? 2012, maybe
12, 13,
12, 13, somewhere in there.
Well, as David efforts to get that clip, he mentioned the Steelers as the ideal fit for DeAndre.
And he clearly sold Mike Greenberg on it, because he said, I want you to, this sounds like a great trade. Do it Monday after they play the Jets.
Don't do it now. I think that would be, under any ideal situation, that would be probably the best landing spot, or one of the best. I think the best landing spot for him is Kansas City, because they're not going to ask him to do much. They're going to ask him to catch the ball on third down. They're going to ask him to catch the ball in the red zone. And with Travis Kelce and Worthy, he's going to get a lot of opportunities to do just that. But I look at Pittsburgh, and I'm not sure this is an ideal situation. They are still having conversations about their quarterback.
Hold that thought, because we have Jason McCourty's thoughts on DeAndre Hopkins and the Steelers on ESPN the other day.
J-Mac, give me a deal that you could see happening that would make a difference.
Well, Shefty said the wide receivers are at a premium, so I want to keep it right there. DeAndre Hopkins goes to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah.
Well, Tomlin's flirting about playing Russell Wilson. Hopefully that he's able to get the ball out and get it on the edge a little bit more. Do you guys know who the second leading receiver is on the Pittsburgh Steelers outside the numbers? No, you have no idea, because it's Najee Harris. He's the next guy in line after George Pickens. They need help on the outside.
No doubt.
And a guy like DeAndre Hopkins, who wins contested passes, he can go out there and win and really help them.
That's a deal they need to make Monday.
Yes.
They need not to make it before Sunday, because they
play the Jets.
Because they play Mike
Again,
Greenberg's beloved Jets.
Again, I'm not sure, and they're not supposed to, but I'm not sure they're watching Titans play football and watching their offense.
Let's be honest, they're probably not.
Yeah, because if you watch their offense, D-Hop, and this is not I'm not saying it's D-Hop's fault. He hasn't been a outside threat for them, period. So what makes you think that if I put him in Pittsburgh, he's going to become that outside threat? He's not that. You put him inside, you put him in bunch, you allow him to get off he's great at finding holes in defenses. That's what the Titans are. That's what they did with him last year, and that's what they're doing with him this year. He is great. He reads, his intelligence as far as reading the field is excellent. He finds holes in defenses. He's not an outside guy. So McCourty, watch the game. He's not that guy. So if you're bringing him into Pittsburgh, you're not bringing him in and say he's our outside savior. No, you bring him in and you put him inside, because I think that's where he best operates. Put him inside, put him in bunch, get him off the ball, allow him to use what he has, his ability to find open spaces. That's what you would get a guy like Diop for. And again, your quarterback situation, as I was saying before the clip, your quarterback situation isn't even settled. You're starting Russell Wilson this week after Justin Fields then went 4-2. And Justin Fields just sitting there. He's playing his role. I take the back seat, but Obviously, I didn't do enough to keep the spot. And then if Russell Wilson don't do well, what are you going to do? Go back to Justin Field. You're going to be playing this quarterback carousel. Is that ideal for a guy that is trying to get in the playoff, a guy that is on the last tail end of his career? Is that beneficial to him? Back and forth with these quarterbacks? No, I want to go somewhere where a quarterback I know is going to be my quarterback for the remainder of the season.
615-737-1025. We'll continue this conversation on the other side. We also have some news that might be of interest to Predators fans. We'll get to that next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 1025-1063, the game.
Football is back for another week. We are on week, what is this, 6, 7? I mean, once football gets going, people, you start to lose track of how many weeks they played because it's been so exciting and nothing has changed. If you saw the game last night, if you bet on it, I know you did with our partners, Zen Sports, the new sports book in Tennessee that's bringing sports betting to a whole new level. And I mean that literally. When you sign up for Zen Sports, you'll automatically earn up to $100, no danger first wager. If your first bet loses, you'll be reimbursed for the amount of your bet up to $100. And now that football season has started, Zen Sports has launched their revamped betting platform for both college football and the NFL. And what's better, people? With their new look, Zen Sports will be offering daily promotions, including odd boosts, same-game parlays, no danger wagers, and much more. Zen Sports also offers a one-of-a-kind VIP reward program. If you qualify, you'll earn monthly comps at all sporting events, concerts. We have a bunch of those in Nashville, and even sport book bonuses. The VIP program is by invite only. So if you feel that your Zen Sports play qualifies for the VIP consideration, check out the program details and apply at zensports.com/VIP. So what are you waiting for? Football fans, start betting with Zen Sports, where you will receive true odds on all parlays and enhanced user experience for all. So get going and download their app at zensports.com today. That's Zen Sports, where betting just got better. And remember this, gambling problems, call 1-800-889-9789. Terms and conditions apply. Must be 21 years or older to bet here in Tennessee.
D. Mays, Fingin and Donick, 1025, 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. I teased some news that might be of interest to Predators fans. And on Monday, October 21st, Bally Sports will officially become FanDuel Sports Network. So if you are looking for the game and you're thinking to yourself, where's Bally? I can't find Bally. Well, on Monday, Bally won't exist anymore. It'll be the FanDuel Sports Network. The broadcasters you know and love, including this guy over here to my right, Willie Donick, as well as Chris Mason and Lindsey Rowley and Kara Hammer, they'll all still be part of the broadcast. It's just going to look a little bit different. Willie, from what you know or what you can share, will the presentation of FanDuel Sports Network look any different than Bally Sports?
Well, it's obviously going to be a big rebrand, but
yes,
I think the important thing to know as just a person who wants to watch the games, which when you get down to it is the most essential thing, right? Where do I get the game? It's a new logo and it's a new name. It's a new look, but the games are going to be viewed in the same place that you're currently watching the game. I think that's the biggest thing. And probably the first question everybody's going to ask is, wait, is it still on the same channel I've been watching on, or can I still get it? Yes, it's the same place you've been watching. And we're just absorbing this ourselves as a broadcast team. It's going to be official on Monday. So tomorrow's broadcast may not be a whole lot different, but as we learn over the weekend, we'll be making the adjustments essentially during that time. So Tuesday against the Bruins would be the first broadcast after it becomes official on Monday. But I don't have all the answers right now, but the basic thing is if you've been watching on a certain channel, wherever you get it, same channel.
Yeah, because
same channel, same app, same streaming, all of that stuff.
Yeah,
None of that.
Same bat time, same bat channel.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, it all comes back to
646.6. It's like 646-6.
Yeah,
on my television
on the DirecTV.
Yeah,
that's
on DirecTV.
Right?
Yeah,
I am the same.
Someone is asking if they will need to change their subscription for streaming.
That I believe will be very easy to do, but yes, I think. But that's one where that's getting into some levels that's above my
because
I don't know.
It would be on different streaming platforms, right? Because I think I saw one this morning. Was it this morning or yesterday? And it said they were talking about the streaming platform Fubo, I think, and they mentioned having hockey games, and I think they did mention like Predator games on that, but then they said your other platforms as well.
And so I would say sit tight on some of that. There will be a lot of information. This is brand new information. And it's been building obviously for a long time. If people have followed the story, I won't bore you with the details, but this has been an evolving process. But look for a lot of information to be put out by this with questions like that in the next day or two, because I know exactly what everybody's saying. Where do I get the game? Just tell me that and we're good, right?
That's all we want to know.
What they want to know.
So we will all pour one out for Bally Sports tomorrow when the Nashville Predators take on the Detroit Red Wings. The Bally Sports era has come to a close. It'll be FanDuel Sports Network starting on Monday, but the first Predators broadcast will be Tuesday against the Boston Bruins. So
officially,
Willie, practice FanDuel.
There's
FanDuel.
a phase. Yeah, there's a phase. I do have to practice that.
FanDuel.
Yeah.
Like, get up, FanDuel.
I always thought Bally was a strange name for it because I associate Bally with like the gym that was by my house when I grew up.
Yeah, that was old school.
Yeah,
Old
I
school.
lived in Orlando, and there was a lot of Bally gyms there. So
And they were everywhere.
Yeah, they
Bally
were.
gyms were everywhere.
It might as well have been Planet Fitness Sports Network, as far as I know. But FanDuel Sports Network will premiere Monday. The first Predators broadcast under FanDuel Sports Network will be on Tuesday. And as Willie said, there will be plenty of information coming out in terms of how this could affect your viewing experience.
In the meantime, with the app, I think the app will stay where you've been getting it for a little bit, but look for more information on that in the coming days. But I think for tomorrow, for example, you'll still be able to watch it on the same app
Mhm.
that you got.
So when you go out tonight, pour glass for Bally Sports. We hardly knew ye. Thank you, Bally Sports.
My boy Bally.
So Willie, you were not here during our Predators discussion. I
did not intentionally duck that discussion.
No, I know you
Yeah.
didn't.
But
But
you would never duck it, Willie.
but it did
No,
allow
no,
me
no.
to say some things without you having to counter them with
No.
more.
Because I sure enough wasn't gonna do it. I was gonna sit and let him stew in it. And
So
then
I didn't say-
after
then-
losing to the Western Conference champions, you feel differently today than you did yesterday?
It isn't about losing to the Oilers specifically.
See, this is what you didn't have to deal with that
No.
right there for.
No, I just
That's
asked
okay,
questions.
no.
I'm just asking questions.
just asking questions.
I'm just asking
No. It didn't have
Uh.
anything to do with the fact that they lost to the Oilers specifically. It's just that coming into this season, we knew, and we have discussed this, we knew that the Predators would have some adjustments to make. But when a team spends as much money as it does in free agency, and there are a lot of flattering preseason predictions about this team challenging for a division title. I remember I went to NHL.com before the season, and they have all of their reporters and columnists. They have them pick the playoffs, pick everything like that. Someone picked the Predators to win the Stanley Cup. So I just think that while there are certain things about this team that you can point to and say it'll get better, one thing that we discussed yesterday with Elliot Freeman, the Predators now have the worst 5-on-5 shooting percentage in the NHL. I believe it's 4.6.
Yeah.
And the league average is 9.1.
Yeah. To
So-
me, that's good. That's a good indicator that it will get better.
I think the issue is with Predators fans right now is it's hard for those certain points to get through when the team has yet to earn a standings point after 4 games, which is the first time the Predators have ever done that. So I sense some frustration among Predators fans about last season. There were low expectations. In those same preseason predictions a year ago, there were a lot of people who picked the Predators to miss the playoffs. Barry Trotz set modest expectations. We could be sneaky good. We might not be so good. And what they ended up doing was surprising to a lot of people, including myself. But when you do what you did this offseason, it suggests you're ready to take that step forward. And so far, they have face planted out of the gate, which has left a lot of Predators fans wondering what's going on.
Naturally, I think that's how every fan should feel. I will remind you that my Mets were 0-5. 0-5 to OMG was the big battle cry when they made it to the playoffs. But they are clearly going through some adjustments and some adversity, and it's frustrating. I would still say stay the course. There's a lot of things to like. The 5-on-5 shooting percentage is a really interesting one because I think, number one, if your shooting percentage is that low, you've been a little unlucky, and you're going to start to get some bounces. And also at the same time, you can't sit back and say everything's great. You have to continue to strive to get better. I still think you see from last night that I can see why they continue to tinker with the lines because it just hasn't gotten into place yet. But they played a really good team from last year. And the baffling thing about last night, in my mind, was if you told me that Connor McDavid's line would get 1 goal, I'd say, hey, man, I'll take that every time. How many times have we joked over the last couple of years? Oh, man, I hope they don't get 6 goals, because they've had games like that where they've just absolutely dominated the game. They did a great job on McDavid, considering what McDavid and Draisaitl have done to them and done to the league. You take that every time. Where they didn't get it done last night, in my assessment of the game, is the weakness of the Oilers is their supporting cast, the other guys. They have a top-heavy roster, and that's where the depth of the Predators, I think, fell short.
Particularly on their second and third defensive pairings behind Ekholm and Bouchard. Those defensive pairings on the Oilers are
Right. And not only,
A little iffy.
on paper, that's what everybody's questioning, whether the Oilers can win it all with that group. And not only did they get by last night, but one of those defensemen scored 2 goals. He'd never done it in his career. One of them was an empty netter, and one was just a shot that made it through about 6 bodies. It was a broken play. The Predators couldn't quite. They had a clearing attempt that hit a player and went out to the defenseman, who's not known for being a scorer, Brett Kulak, and he buried one. So it was a little bit of a weird game. I think they started to show better defensive structure, I think, to hold McDavid to 1 goal. But they had to defend too much. They did not give up the odd man rushes that they've been giving up. But they also didn't generate as much offense, which you need to do against the Oilers. And so I saw some steps forward, but this is all part of the big picture process. Now, when you dig a hole like this, you're going to have some hot streaks like they had last year. I think they're very capable of doing that. But, you have to make up this ground somewhere. I think they have the firepower to do that. So I'm certainly not going to panic. But at the same time, 0-4 is 0-4. I think that's what has to resonate in that locker room and kick it up another notch tomorrow and find a way to break through.
Are they, and I get it, 5 games in a 82-game season doesn't seem like much, and I get it. But, it can snowball. And that's what you don't want it to do. Yeah, we can sit here and say it's only 5 games. Look at what they did last year. They were able to start this way and then end up in the playoffs where many didn't think they were going to make the playoffs. I understand all that, and it happens in sports, but it doesn't change the fact that this team isn't doing enough to put themselves in positions to win games. It's evident by their record. I'm just going by what their record says. And and Adam and I talked about this early on because he played the Marcia Salt comments.
He said after the game that the team was quote unquote fragile.
Yeah.
Right
and
now.
I said I probably would have used a different word, but he's right. I mean, because you come in and players can say, we don't pay attention to it. And as we know, Willie, Adam, they pay attention to it. They listen to all that stuff. We all do. But when you have these expectations of, all right, the Predators got the money, because for years they said they didn't have the money because, the hockey salary cap is hard. And you can't try to invent money when there's no money there. But this was the year that they had the money that they can go out and get the goal scorers and the pieces that they needed to get them to where they ultimately want to be. And, for all intents and purposes, I think they do have them. But when this is sort of built up in the off season, and then you're hearing it and you're listening to it, and you're feeling good about yourself as well, and you're feeling good about the moves that have been made, then you get in the season and it's nothing like you thought it was going to be. There has to be a reflection time for this team, and it needs to happen now. It doesn't need to happen 10 games from now. It doesn't need to happen in the middle of the season. It needs to happen now, because why? You have the firepower. You have the guys that can turn it around for you. So all 20-something of y'all need to look in the mirror. Like I said, need to look in the mirror. That goes along with the GM, head coach, and everybody. All right, what team, who do we want to be? I know who they said we were before the season started. I get it. But who are we now, and who do we want to be moving forward? That's the question that we got to ask and answer very quickly.
I think that's a great point. I do think that discussion is probably going on in some form internally.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no problem with what Marcia So said. That guy is a competitor. He is a winner. He is won in other places. He's trying to bring that to the table here. He cares. I'll tell you what, he's not the nicest guy to be around every day, because that guy is focused on one thing, and that is, competing and getting it done. I love how he plays. I love what he's about. He scored a big goal last night. I think the most frustrating point in the game, and it's the second straight game that's happened. They battle hard to get back and tie the game. And then, to his credit, this is the best player in the world. Connor McDavid takes over the next shift and gets them the lead back. That's what great players do. They did a tremendous job on McDavid, but he still made the one play that was probably the biggest play. Kind of took the pulled the rug out from under the crowd and the team after they had worked so hard to tie it up. But I see, look, let's use the Kings last year in the middle of the season, the Oilers last year at the beginning of the season. There are really good teams, and we could go through the Predators season last year. Same thing. You're going to, over 82 games, go through a struggle where it forces you to rework, reshape, remold what you're about, harden you up. The good teams come out of it better, and they become a better group. They pull together. The teams that aren't good unravel when they have this kind of stuff happen. The X factor is the injuries, and that's what we don't know is gonna happen here. But I think this is where the team early on with a bunch of new guys, exactly what you're saying. Everybody said we were this. Well, they're finding out that it's not that easy. You can't just show up. They're not going to be able to just show up and out-talent people. They have to come together and be more connected. I actually saw some signs that was happening last night. They didn't get some results, even though statistically, I can't sit here like I did in the first two games and say they outchanced, they outshot, all of that stuff. They had to defend a lot, but I liked how they battled. They did a lot of good things. Right now, the snake bit group is the lower part of the lineup. You mentioned the defense pairs, but it's also the fourth line, the variations of the fourth line. They're way minus, right? As far as the results, they're snake bit. They got to be going, what the heck? I'm working my butt off here, and I'm -2, -3 at the end of the game. That's tough, right? Because that group has a lot of responsibility of grinding, setting the tone, the identity. How often we were trying to get a nickname for those guys last year because they were doing such a great job.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening right now, but it's 4 games, right? But they're going to work hard. Hopefully what doesn't break you makes you stronger as a group. And that's what they have to hang their hat on here. And Andrew Burnett said this. This is what I'll end on. Last year, they had an identity, relentless, right? This year, I think he's kind of come to grips with some different guys, more skill. We have to make a new identity. I can't just hang my hat on what happened last year. This group itself has to earn their own stripes. And I think that's what to look for in the coming days. And hopefully when they meet internally, that's the process that's going on.
The one other thing that I mentioned to Derek that I think needs to change, and I'm not sure how it's going to change, it's probably going to change by what you were talking about, Willie, is that this team has struggled to win at home, including the postseason, the 3 games against the Canucks. They've now lost 6 consecutive home games. It just feels like, and we talked about this yesterday with the way that their schedule is set up, the vibe, the energy in the building has seemed to wane. And I think it's because recently, more often than not, it appears that the Predators lose at home. And nobody wants to see that. I mean, that's something that will go hand in hand with what you're talking about. But that home ice advantage that we knew, especially during the 2016-2017 run to the Stanley Cup final and beyond, that home ice advantage was a huge part of it. And it just has evaporated. And I can't really understand why.
Well, they went 9-1-2 at home down the stretch of the season. So where they're playing well at home and on the road. So I believe the atmosphere is that the crowd was ready Tuesday and Thursday. And this is Tuesday, Thursday, right? In the midst of a 4-game homestand where it's tough to have everybody, they're season ticket holders. You're asking them to go 4 times in the span of a week and a half. There's a lot going on. There's other sports going on too. And yet I still think when the Predators were playing well, the crowd's right there. They're a factor. It's just the team's got to put it together.
615-737-1025. It's time for Ask D-Mace. Get your questions in right now on our phone and text lines, 615-737-1025. I know some of y'all will have some dad jokes. Get those prepped on our phone and text lines, 615-737-1025. We'll start Ask D-Mace next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
All right, we're going to take it to the bank with F&M Bank today at 1:45, as we always do. F&M Bank has you covered when it comes to your finances. Banking made easy on purpose. That's banking made easy on purpose. They want to make your life easier. They want to make your finances easier. They can help you. They want to build a relationship with you. And that's why they try to be right smack dab in the middle of your community. West End Avenue here in Nashville, 6 locations in Clarksville, Springfield, Mount Juliet, Murfreesboro, on up into Hopkinsville, Kentucky. They want to build a relationship because their business, your business, means more to them. Business-to-business loans from business owners. They recommend that you call and build a relationship with them because they're in it with you. They're going to win that battle for you financially and make your life easier. Go to myfmbank.com and find the nearest location to you. That's myfmbank.com. Equal housing lender, member FDIC. We take it to the bank at 145.
He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
And there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask D Mace.
We'll welcome you in.
Now on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time for Ask D-Mace on D-Mace, Vingan, and Donna. Get your questions in on our phone and text lines driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, 615-737-1025. I'm going to do the honors of starting this because I have a very important question for Derek that I did ask him before the show. The reason why I asked him is strange, so I'm just going to
Let's skip that part.
Okay, let's skip that part. I was like, Derek, you seem like a guy that wore Zubaz pants back in the day.
And I said, hell no, I ain't wearing no Zubaz pants.
And then, and then you said, you know who probably did? Big Joe Dubin.
Yeah,
and you
as I
asked
was
him,
looking
and
at
he
Big
said,
Joe.
yeah, I love those pants.
Man, I wasn't wearing no, because Willie, you remember they had all the NFL teams, all the basketball, they had them all.
Yeah.
Like if you wanted to wear Zuba pants, you can wear them every day of the week. I didn't like those pants whatsoever. They had the funny patterns and all. I know
The tiger stripes, right?
Yeah.
Right.
No, and everybody had. It seemed like everybody had the same pants.
Let me see if I can pinpoint the era we're talking about. We're talking like early 90s,
I
late
think
80s,
so.
early 90s.
Late 80s, early 90s. Yes, when they first came.
And
out.
there was kind of a color wave. Like remember the starter jackets?
Yes, I love starter
I had a
jackets.
starter
I
jacket.
still got
I
a starter
still have
jacket.
my-
I got a Lions
I
starter
still
jacket.
have my Blue Jays starter jacket from way back when I was playing in the minors for them, and people are like, "Ooh,
I'm gonna bring it out tomorrow.
I love that."
No, I'm gonna bring it out.
But
Monday.
it kind of it was loud, right? Loud and colorful. But so you didn't get caught up in that. But I remember that era
No.
like it was yesterday. It was a fun era. I wonder if it will cycle back.
Hold
to
on.
that.
You know
Like
why?
big logos.
You know why?
Big
I never,
logos, tiger stripes, loud colors.
You know why I was never a fan of Zuba pants? Because I saw my uncles wearing them. Saw my dad. Yeah, I was like, the only people I saw in Zuba pants were older people. I'm like, no, I'm not wearing those pants. You know, because and listen, my uncles wasn't like they were 60 or 70. They were, 40s. But back, you consider, 40 back then, it's like you old. I looked at my parents and they were like 35. I thought they were old. Come to find out, no, they were not old. I was just too damn young. So there you go.
Willie is not a Zubaz guy.
No,
Though Willie
I was not.
Willie is a fan of joggers, I've noticed. Wears joggers every day to the studio.
I would too.
Very fashionable.
They're comfy.
Willie
Exactly.
Donick. All right. So let's get to our phone line driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. Our friend Eric is on the line. I'm sure with a dad joke, then a question for Derek. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, I do. But guys, I wanted to give you a fantastic update on things that have gone on in my life. So as many people know, and I've said this before, I've had a rough time the last few years because I got furloughed from my job because of the pandemic. I had to have hip replacement surgery on both my hips. I did one at a time, not both at the same time. And trying desperately to somewhat get back on the feet. It has been rough the last few years. Well, this past Tuesday, I got a letter. It was from the Social Security disability deal. They told me that not only did I get approved for disability, they gave me a lump sum payment from about, I guess it was July of last year to about September this year. And going forward, I'm going to get monthly payments in my bank account. So it's been rough, but the thing also with trying to get disability is that can be a long process because everybody tells me, well, you're not going to get it the first time you apply for it. You're going to get turned down. I got it the first time I applied for it. Not only that, the whole process took a grand total of 81 days because I had to get my medical records. It actually took me longer to get my medical records to apply for it than it did to actually receive it. And I had to pay $53 for medical records, but it was well worth it considering what I got. So just to share that with you, to tell
Well,
you,
congratulations,
I'm in a good place.
Eric. Happy for you. Happy for you.
Thank
man.
you.
Yep.
I appreciate it. Now I've got my dad joke. So I hope you guys like this. I'll let you know up front, this is probably going to be a groaner. So I'm just telling you. So,
but that's a
have you
good dad
heard-
joke.
Exactly.
Yeah. So have you heard now that it's illegal to laugh out loud in Hawaii? Have you heard that, guys?
I have not.
Well, unfortunately, you're only allowed a low ha.
I like
That's
that.
a solid
one.
dad joke right there.
Yes, I like that one.
Yeah, I thought you to get it.
Adam doesn't want to laugh, but he knows it's funny.
It's a good one. It's one of the best.
Exactly.
So thank you. So guys, here's my thing, and we've of course gone over the whole Will Levis stuff and everything, and here's my question on that. Guys, it's just so frustrating to see that he showed flashes of greatness last year, but he struggled this year, and just wanted to get you guys' thoughts. If you thought this had something to do with it, or not anything. The fact, of course, we've got a different coach staff this year than we had last year, because of course last year we had Vrabel, and now we've got this coaching staff. Do you think it's just the fact that he's just struggled with the plays of the coaching staff, the fact that the coaching staff may not be coaching him right, or do you think that Will Levis himself is just not maybe prepared properly for games, or is he struggling with that, just reading the play or whatever because of the new coaching staff? Just wanted to get your thoughts of that. If it's just him struggling with the play calling of the new coaching staff, or the coaches themselves maybe not coaching them up right, or whatever, whether it's one or the other doing the proper things they need to prepare to win ball games. Just want to get your thoughts on that. Guys, y'all take care. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, Eric.
Yes,
And
well,
before Derek answers that question, we have some news out of the Titans. The following players are out Sunday. Keandre Coburn, no surprise. Tajay Spears, no surprise. And Treylon Burks, out for the Titans. Suffered an injury in practice and will be out for an uncertain amount of time. So Treylon Burks, injured again, will not play Sunday against the Buffalo Bills.
But anyway,
we'll get back to that.
Yeah,
I just wanted to
yeah.
share that. Derek's got to get his thoughts together, but please answer Eric's question.
I don't think it has much to do with the changing of the guard and the offensive coordinator. Will Levis is used to this. He's been through several coordinators even before he got into college, so he understands what it entails, or what he has to do to get himself prepared and ready when a new offensive coordinator, a new coach comes into town. And, from what I've understood, he's picked up on offenses and been able to, move forward. So I don't think it has much to do with the coaching staff, because the mistakes he's making are just mistakes that if you didn't know the offense, or if you did, you wouldn't make those mistakes. And I'm not going to sit here and chronicle all the mistakes, but the mistakes he's making are not because it's a new head coach or it's a new offensive scheme. It's the quarterback. And, again, I would love for Will Levis to turn this around. I would love to get on in 5 or 6 weeks from now and say, man, boy, we were on Will Levis bad, but boy, oh boy, he's turned it around, and look at him now. I would love to come on air and to be able to say that, because to me, if it's not right, I'm going to call it. But if it is right, I'm going to call it as well. It's all Will Levis. That's who it is. And maybe, just maybe, he's not the quarterback that they thought he was. So I don't think it's as much of the coaching staff or anything else, because I think he's prepared well. I think he does what he needs to do as far as film watching. When all of that is happening and you're still having problems, you got to look to the guy that's at the helm, and it's the quarterback. Well, nobody's going to question that Will Levis works hard. He works hard. Nobody's going to question whether he wants to win. He wants to win. He wants to be the best quarterback in the league, or the best quarterback he can be. But maybe this is the best quarterback he can be, what he is now.
So more on Treylon Burks. It is a knee injury, and it could mean him heading to IR. So Treylon Burks suffered a knee injury at practice and maybe heading to injured reserve. I'm really glad I hammered the under on the Donic dynamic plays for Treylon Burks in the preseason.
It's looking like the Burks dynamic plays might end up at a big 0.0. I was only asking for 12. That's how I was just give me to a 12.
This has been
less than one per game.
This has
might
been
not get one.
Utter disappointment and disaster. That's what it has been. And listen, he was, and am I making an excuse for him? I don't know, but he was brought in a situation that wasn't ideal, and he did nothing to change the fortunes for himself. He's hurt, drop balls, can't get in the Florida offense, whether it's their problem, his problem. It just hasn't, from the day he stepped foot in here, it just hasn't gone right. The minute he takes a step forward, he takes 2 steps back. And it's continuing to look uglier and uglier when you pan up north to northeast and you see AJ Brown, and he's missed his games too. And he's going to be a guy that consistently, miss games here and there because of
But
the
he
physicality
produces.
that he plays with. But he produces, and he produces at a high clip. Again, I've said this about this organization, and maybe it's changed. You don't value elite receivers. You don't. You don't value guys that are at the top of their game. You don't value those guys. You can go through the history of this organization. You do not value those guys, because the minute a guy shows you what he is and what he can continue to do, you get rid of his ass. Why? Because you can get a draft pick here. You don't want to pay him the money. Well, if you don't change, you're going to continue to run into what you have ran into for the last 20-some years. Is maybe we get a guy, maybe we don't. But you know what? Frankly, it don't matter, because we're not going to allow him to have any significant time here, more than 4 years, more than 3 years. We're not going to allow him, because we're going to get rid of him. Why? Because they're going to want too much money.
615-737-1025. We'll continue to take your questions for Derek on our phone and text lines, driven by Wilson County Hyundai.com. Tomorrow from 1 to 6 p.m., New Heights Brewing at 928 Representative John Lewis Way South is having an afternoon of free live music and good vibes before the Post Malone concert at Nissan Stadium, benefiting the relief efforts in East Tennessee, presented by Cromwell Media. It's actually a pre-Malone party for the post-Malone concert. $1
Nice
from
touch.
every draft pint will be donated to East Tennessee Foundation. There's a dad joke, to help those in need from the devastation of
Aloha.
Hurricane Helene. More details can be found at thegamenational.com/events.
Hey, Colin, get some bass in your voice. Hey, this is Colin. That's how you need to say it. Now, hey, this is Colin. No.
Hi, it's Colin here.
Hi, this is Derek Mason here. No. Hey, this is Derek Mason here. And you heard me tell you about Dr. Lodge and his staff at Cool Springs MD for some time. If you have set out to lose weight, chances are this is not your first time setting a resolution to shed some extra pounds, only to face disappointment. But at Cool Springs MD, Dr. Lodge and his staff understands the frustration of this cycle, and that is why they offer a different approach to weight loss. Their comprehensive weight loss program is led by Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and addresses the root cause of weight gain with tailored nutrition, exercise, blood test supplements, and more. They will customize a program specific to you and no one else. So connect with Dr. Lodge at CoolSpringsMD.com today to schedule your appointment for a personalized weight loss plan just for you. That's Cool Springs MD, where your weight loss journey becomes a success story.
D-Mays, Fink, and the Donic, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. It's still time for Ask D-Mays. So if you have questions, call us, text us, 615-737-1025. Randy on our text line first has a dad joke. What do you call dental x-rays? Dental x-rays. What do you call them? Toothpicks.
I think we heard that one. That one was 2 weeks ago or something like that.
Probably.
Yeah, I think we heard that one.
Get some new material, Randy.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Come on, Randy.
Come on,
Be original.
Randy.
Randy Watson.
Randy's question is, if the NFL was going to restructure the divisions, who would you put in the new AFC South? And you cannot include, other than the Titans, any of the other three teams in it now. And it doesn't matter if those other teams are currently in the AFC or the NFC. So if you're putting together a new AFC South with the Titans and three other teams, which teams are you putting in there?
Oh, I go back to Willie. No, I go back to the old AFC North. What it used to be. I would Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Cincinnati, or Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and Baltimore. That's what I would put.
Back when they had three divisions and not four.
Exactly.
In the conference. It was called the Central, right? The AFC Central.
I think it was. It wasn't the AFC North.
I think it was called the Central.
It was called the
Okay.
Central at the time. There was East, West,
Yeah,
Central, but you
you're
had
right.
there was always
It was
somebody.
us,
that didn't look
Indianapolis, Jacksonville.
like Dallas was always in the NFC East. Like,
Yeah.
Dallas is not exactly in the East.
No,
but
not at all. But yeah, I would like to if you wanted to reorganize the AFC, it would be Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and the Titans. That's what I would
I'm
put.
trying to remember this. The Falcons, they were obviously not in the the NFC East. Were they in the West? I know that for a long time the Braves were in the NL West, which made no sense at all.
They were in the same. Were they in the same division with the Cardinals? Arizona.
Well, the Cardinals stayed for a long time in the NFC East, even as they moved from St.
'cause they
Louis
were
out
St.
to
Louis,
Arizona.
Arizona,
So that was
yeah.
another thing that didn't make any sense.
I
So
found an article. Oh my! I have to show you guys this. Look at this webpage from the old ESPN, the magazine. Now this,
Oh Lord,
I need to show it to the people on the stream.
ESPN Mag.
This is some Netscape type stuff. If you can see it on the stream, this is how old this website is, and it says Division Quest AFC Central. With realignment looming, ESPN, the magazine, bids farewell to the AFC Central. Tennessee Titans, Baltimore Ravens, Pittsburgh Steelers, Jacksonville Jaguars, Cincinnati Bengals, and Cleveland Browns.
Yep. See? So give me Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Baltimore. Y'all can have Cleveland. We can leave them out. But give me Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and Baltimore.
Okay, that works. We have another texter who wants to know who would play you in a Derek Mason biopic.
Oh man, my son.
I'm trying to think of someone right now.
My son. I don't know. Someone right now. I don't know. That'd be a good one.
Chris Tucker.
Hell no. Nah, he too funny for me.
You're pretty funny. Don't tell yourself short.
But I guess somebody. I don't know. I grew up with Morris Chestnut, so Morris Chestnut or I don't know. I would first go to Morris Chestnut.
So Atlanta used to be in the conference with the Saints and the Rams.
Yeah, there we go.
So Atlanta and the Rams.
Yes.
Now was Tampa in that division?
In the same division.
Yes.
Was Tampa in that division also?
They might have been.
I think so.
Yeah,
I think.
Mm-hmm.
No, Tampa was always with the Lions and the Packers.
You're right.
And
in Chicago.
In Chicago, which
that
made
was
no
the Central.
sense. Yeah. There's another one that geographically
Where was Seattle?
They were in the West, I think.
Uh-huh.
They were in the West for a long time.
We have
but
a
they
vote,
were,
by the
remember,
way.
they were in the AFC for years and years and years.
Yeah,
and then
you're
switched
right.
To
They
the
switched to
NFC,
the NFC.
recently,
You're right. You're
more
right.
recently.
We have a vote for Omar Epps to play you.
No,
in a
I mean,
biopic.
Oh
okay.
yes, that
I can see that. Yeah.
We're gonna keep thinking on this.
Yeah, we need to think.
We need to budget this film. We'll
Yeah.
start a GoFundMe
Yeah,
for
we
the
need
Derek
to budget
Mason.
that. I would say Morris Chestnut, but y'all can have your own say. If I was being real lofty here. Denzel, who would want Denzel to play them?
See that we need the
know?
budget. If we have a budget, we can go to Denzel.
Exactly.
This
Y'all,
isn't a 90s
I need a
Eddie Murphy.
GoFundMe so we can get Denzel to
We
play
need
me. okay?
Denzel Washington's non-union equivalent. That's what we need to find.
Up and comer.
Denzel on a budget.
Exactly.
Maybe Denzel's son.
But maybe Denzel was
Yeah.
a big fan of the Titans back in
Yeah.
the day and
Yeah,
had the
you're
soft
right.
spot for teammates. Like, okay, I could play that guy.
Yeah, I can do that. Absolutely.
All right. I can't do that. It sounded more like Quagmire than Denzel Washington.
My man.
My man, Wes, is on our phone line,
Ah.
driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com with a question for Derek. Wes, go ahead.
All right, guys. I had to be festive, with the autumn and Halloween coming around the corner. So, why did the pumpkin lose the boxing match?
Why does the pumpkin lose the boxing match?
He didn't have any teeth. I don't know.
He let his gourd down.
You get it? Gourd,
Gourd,
pumpkin.
yeah.
I saw that. I was like, dude, that's such a terrible dad.
But that's
autumn
what it's
joke
supposed
that
to
needs
be,
on the
Wes.
radio.
His gourd down?
Yeah.
His gourd down.
That's what it's supposed to
Oh,
be.
man.
Is
Wes.
that like a New York accent? Gourd. He left his gourd down.
He let his gourd down.
Not to,
Pitino.
not to be
Get Rick Pitino
confused
to
with
talk
the
about that, yeah.
thousands upon thousands of people in Canada named Gord.
Oh goodness.
But
Man, my question. Oh man, I wanted to do something fun. Something that maybe each of y'all would have a different answer on. So I'm just curious. You take this same exact Titans team, you run it back next year with the only thing that you change is the quarterback. Who has the better season as the quarterback? Shedeur Sanders, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, or Hendon Hooker? I'll hang up and listen.
Oh man,
Wait, those are the only choices?
Yeah, those, and then listen, I mean, you got one guy that you don't know what he's going to be, but he's been an outstanding college quarterback in Shedeur Sanders. The other three are current NFL players, I believe. All three of them are, I think.
he said Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield.
What was the last one?
Hendon Hooker.
Yeah, Hendon Hooker. I haven't seen any of Hendon Hooker. I am taking Baker Mayfield. I've always been a Baker Mayfield fan, even when he was in Oklahoma. I just like his moxie. He's a dog. That's what Baker is. He's a dog. And Baker's going to do everything he can to win you a football game. And it may not look pretty, but damn it, he's going to go out there. If it calls for him to block down the field, Baker Mayfield does that also. Watch film. You see Baker Mayfield running down the field trying to get blocks for his players. That's a dog. That's a leader for you. That's a guy that's like, man, I'm winning at all costs. I saw it at Oklahoma, and I fell in love with it, and it hadn't stopped. So
Didn't they just
yeah.
burn his jersey during the the Oklahoma tech? There was something that involved his jersey.
No, so Texas players, they got a flag and they put his jersey down and they planted it.
Remember, he did that years ago.
Yeah,
when
he
was
did
in
that
college.
2018.
Yeah, when he was
And
in
he's
college.
from Austin, Texas.
So but that shows you that boy got some
under
big
skin.
ones.
He's a
boy.
dog.
He's a dog. He don't care, and he's backed it up with his play. So you give me Baker Mayfield with this team, they are a much better team. A much better team.
I don't think he's going to be out there though. Because
No, he won't be. He just signed a new contract.
The
with
Bucks
the
like
Bucks.
him.
Yeah.
And it is an interesting play on the you got to lock up your quarterback when you got him. Tua and Trevor Lawrence and all these guys that got the big one. It's Sam Darnold and Baker Mayfield are giving hope to those that are saying, well, sometimes late bloomer, or sometimes you're better off paying $20 million less and you're getting equal or better value.
He was just in a dumpster
Yeah.
fire in Cleveland.
So
That's all.
this is
That whole
something.
thing.
If the Titans go in a different direction next year, I think that's a interesting question. Is there the next Mayfield or Darnold?
Well,
out
Darnold, I
there?
believe, is on a 1-year
Yeah,
deal.
so
with
he
the
will
Vikings.
possibly
But
be
he's going to
available.
earn a better contract,
Yeah.
right? If he's going, because the Vikings aren't going to let him go.
Well, if JJ McCarthy is ready,
Yeah. They can't
maybe
hold
they
him.
will.
At 5-0 is 5. I don't know what the record will be at the end of the year, but they may have to reconsider some things.
We shall see. One more quick one from Maddie on the subject of quarterbacks. Derek, if you could trade Will Levis straight up for any non-starting quarterback in the league currently, who would it be?
Joe Flacco.
That didn't even take a
Didn't
second
take
thought.
nothing
Wow.
but a
Joe
second.
Elite, baby.
Joe Flacco, because he's really I know Joe, I know what type of player he has been. I know that if you just watch that Indianapolis game, that like, listen, he still has something left. He can he win you the game every week? Possibly, probably not, but he gives you an opportunity.
We saw it last week.
Yeah, he gives because he's been in this league long enough. He understands it. He knows what it takes to win. As a former, Super Bowl MVP, so he knows what it takes to win ball games. I would take Joe Flacco in a heartbeat. This team would be a much better team. And this is all honesty here. This team would be a much better team with Joe Flacco at the helm. That's why they did not bring him here, because they didn't want any true competition at that position.
615-737-1025. Excellent questions from all of you and Ask D Mace. We will get back into the Titans game against the Bills coming up next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Bingen, 1025-1063, The Game.
All right, let's talk Lee Company. 567-1000, area code 615. Lee Company now has built up 80 years of service in this area. That's pretty impressive. 1944 is when they started off giving their service to homeowners out there and taking care of your air conditioning, your heating, your electric, and your plumbing. They do a fantastic job. They're a big sponsor of our Predator coverage, and you will see their display out there if you're going to Smashville tomorrow afternoon, a 1 o'clock start, as the Predators take on the Detroit Red Wings. Always a special day in Smashville, and it's a big day for the Predators as they try to get on track. So, with that said, keep this number in mind and this website, LeeCompany.com, 615-567-1000. The Donick House has been using Lee Company for a long time now, getting close to a decade, where they have come in, they've serviced our air conditioning. We just re-upped with them. We got a new furnace / air conditioning unit because it was just time. And that's the kind of advice that you get. They'll look at things like air ducts and buildup and things that need to get addressed as you live in your house for a longer and longer period of time. So take my word for it. LeeCompany.com, 615-567-1000. Lee Company is a proud sponsor of the Nashville Predators.
D. Mace, Fingan, and Donick, 1025, 1063 The Game. Broadcasting from the Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning Game Nashville studios, home of the $99 yearly Beehive membership, where the buzz is always about great service. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, and Adam Vingan here with you. The Tennessee Titans head to Buffalo on Sunday afternoon to take on the 4-2 Bills. It's going to be a tough matchup, as we discussed with Vic Carucci earlier in the show. Josh Allen, 0 interceptions so far this season, first time in his career. He has gone 6 consecutive games without tossing a pick. The expected debut of Amari Cooper as a member of the Buffalo Bills after being acquired from the Cleveland Browns earlier this week. And the Tennessee Titans are hoping that they can get their offense on track. It's not been looking good so far this season. Last week against the Colts, 17 points against the team that in the previous week allowed nearly 500 yards to the Jacksonville Jaguars of all teams. And offensive coordinator Nick Holtz spoke to reporters yesterday, and he had some interesting comments. This is what Nick Holtz talked about yesterday about the team's preparation on offense and some video watching that they were doing.
Well, like the second play of the game, he should get the ball, right? He had a slant route on the backside.
That was about Calvin Ridley. We'll play that one too. But this is the one about the film breakdown that the offense did as a whole this week. We will hold on that. But the Titans offense has a tough task against the Bills. And one thing I'm wondering, Derek, and we'll play the clip from Nick Holtz on Calvin Ridley in a minute, is Ridley made it known after the game that he was frustrated that he did not get the ball early in the game. His first target did not come until the first play of the second quarter. 5 of the 8 targets in the fourth quarter. Do you think that Will Levis consciously or subconsciously will try to force the ball to Calvin Ridley early in this game? And could that portend bad things if he were to do that?
Whether it's Will Levis or Brian Callahan, I know they want to throw Holtz up there, but he's not. He's the offensive coordinator, but he's not the offensive coordinator. Okay. So they throw him up there to explain what they have been doing. But I've said this before, when they, a few years ago when Vrabel was here and they were not targeting Treylon Burks, and I got on these airwaves and said, listen, they got to target him. And Vrabel, we don't go out of our way to target guys. And I knew that was a damn lie. And shame on him for telling people that lie. And what happened the next week? They targeted Treylon Burks all early and often that game. I think he had like 6 targets within the first quarter or the first 2 quarters. That's going out of your way to make sure your playmaker, who you deem your playmaker, gets the ball. So I expect, now that Calvin Ridley has said what he said and his frustrations, came out, they will target him early and they will target him often. That's going to be the plan, because you don't pay somebody that much money and then do not make them a focal point of your offense, because eventually it's going to come to head and somebody's going to say something, and Calvin Ridley did. Now you got to go back to the drawing board and say, how do we get this guy more touches? Because not only was he saying that, the owner's probably saying it too. Like, why isn't he touching the ball more? We gave him all this money. Why isn't he catching more balls? What's going on here? So they got to make sure that investment that they made in Calvin Ridley in offseason, that they can get the most money, the most return they can possibly get from him.
So this was Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Nick Holtz talking about Calvin Ridley, and specifically the second play of the game for the Titans last week against the Colts.
Well, like the second play of the game, he should get the ball, right? He had a slant route on the backside. Second play of the game, the ball should go to him. We get fooled by the coverage and the look. We end up throwing the bubble to the right. And he sees that. And we know Calvin's frustrated and everybody's frustrated. Coaches are frustrated. Will's got frustrated. You go and throw the ball for 90 yards, everybody's going to be frustrated. So it was good for us to sit down, kind of everybody see how it all looked, how it all fits together, and everybody left feeling pretty good about it or better about it.
Adam.
Yes, Derek.
And I said this to you off air because you played that clip for me, and I listened. Even though you sent it to us, you replayed it.
So what you're telling me is you don't look at the things I text you.
No. I heard it, but when
That's
you
what I'm hearing.
replayed
Yes,
it,
of course. I'm just giving you a hard time.
When you replayed it, I'm sitting there and I'm thinking like, okay, yeah, that tells me it's CYA, cover your ass. That's what that's doing. That's all. First, see, this is how the process sort of comes where everybody starts. It's like CYA for everybody. You play a few games, things are not going well, and then that high-priced individual that you just brought in, that you expected or told, hey, listen, you will be a vital part of what we're doing. You are our passing game. You are our first option. You can help our team. You can help this young quarterback grow. When it's not happening, the first thing that happens is that guy that y'all promised all this to, he starts getting frustrated because the coaches, they're just gonna go about their business. First, he gets frustrated, which we saw. He said what he needed to say, but he included himself in that frustration. I need to play better. I played like you know what. And he said this that day, but they didn't play that clip. He said that. Then what starts to happen is you start to see the quarterback say something. Well, I need to get better, and he needs to get better. And then what's next? The offensive coordinator, quote unquote, offensive coordinator comes out. Well, we were supposed to throw the ball to him, but they gave us this. He knows that. So now there's a bunch of finger pointing and everybody covering their ass. Is that a recipe for something good? Is that the model of a good franchise, a good, solid coaching staff? I don't know if it is. I don't know if it isn't. But if you look at it, and I've been around, and the only reason I can say this is because I've been in those situations. Listen, it's starting to become everybody cover themselves. Calvin Ridley started it by being frustrated. Will Levis chimed in. Now your offensive coordinator quotations, he starts in. Why is so much crap coming out of this building? I don't understand. I don't understand that. So much stuff is coming. When Vrabel first got the job, the one thing that didn't happen after, stuff wasn't coming out the building. You didn't hear all these side conversations. It wasn't until they started losing and guys, then all of a sudden you started hearing things come out of the building. That was a locker room fractured some because they're losing and we're trying to figure it out. Guys are hurt and all this. So stuff starts to come out the building. Now everybody's trying to cover their ass. The same record is playing. It's starting to play now. And I hear it. It's starting to play. And I can if they don't start winning, I can tell you the ending already. I can tell you the ending. And they can lie to y'all and say, no, that's not what's happening. It's this, it's that. Even last year they told that lie. But what happened? Stuff started to come out the locker room more and more and more. So y'all can tell the average fan whatever you want to tell them. And I understand why. But when stuff starts to come out the building, why do you think coaches are so paranoid? They don't want anything. The message we want to put out is something totally different than possibly what's happened inside of our house. Again, I say this. Whatever we're doing inside of our house, the arguments we may have, or the discussions we may have inside of our own home, nobody else need to be privy to that. This is us. We need to take care. As long as there's nothing physically going on and you're not doing something harmful to anybody, they don't need to know what's going on in our house. But that's what's happening with the Tennessee Titans. Stuff will start coming out of that building now that isn't positive. Again, I think why she fired Mike Vrabel, one of the reasons is because everything that was coming out was pro Vrabel. You're going to have the same problem again. Stuff coming out of that building that she's not going to like. I know she didn't like what Ridley said. I'm not sure if she liked what the quarterback said too. Does she like what the offensive coordinator says as well? That is stuff that we don't need to know about y'all having meetings like that.
I think that's an interesting part of it. You wonder why people get so frustrated with Bill Belichick and to a degree Nick Saban. There was this the hockey example would be Lou Lamoriello, an extreme example of we only have one message. We don't make everybody available for interviews. I don't want the coordinators talking every week. I don't want the assistant coaches doing this or that. It's very frustrating for the media. But what it does, at least that's the message it sends internally, is one voice, keep everything else in-house. These other people don't need to know. I think this coaching staff makes every effort to answer every question in a lot of detail. And when you struggle, everybody's going to hear a little what the offensive coordinator might say in a long, detailed answer might not match up 100% with what Brian Callahan says or what Will Levis says. And so people start picking that stuff apart when you're 1-4. And that's the hard part about actually trying to be a nice guy and trying to be media compliant and trying to thoughtfully answer questions. So I see a young coaching staff that probably hasn't been schooled in this a whole lot. And they're also, I think, trying to say, look how hard we're working. Look how hard we're trying. There's a method to the madness, and that's good. But I'm not sure it's giving them the result they're looking for. It kind of comes across as, let me show you that I'm a smart coach. Let me show you how smart we are. And this is what we're doing. We're working hard. It makes perfect sense. But I think it gets at what you're talking about, D-Mace. It's like everybody hears everything internally. Well, wait a minute. That's not exactly how I experience it. And then it lends itself to other stuff leaking out. Is that fair? Like,
no, it is.
Yeah.
For instance, what Will Levis, and you brought this up and you went on your rant, which was deserving, when Will Levis said something about his arm.
Right.
The head coach didn't know anything about that. That was the first he heard of it. But then now he has to explain what you just brought up when no one asked you about your arm. Can you make the throw or can you not? I don't need to hear about you being injured because you are healthy enough to play. Don't use that as an excuse. And that's what the head coach is probably thinking too. But the message you put out is something contrary to what he's thinking. And now he's blindsided. Now, then, a few days later, without being prompted, you go out and tell everybody we had a bad practice. Now Peter Skoronski have to answer questions, or anybody else that has to answer questions based upon that. Again, shut your damn mouth. Shut up. Stop having diarrhea of the mouth. Okay? Stop.
Or what you do is that this is why the Bull Durham answers were created, right? The whole scene in the movie of Crash Davis going to Nukalush and saying, look, stick to the cliches. Don't say too much. Answer the questions, nod your head. But this is why coach speak exists, is so that you can placate the media but you could keep details and things that need to stay in-house. Fair to say?
No, you're right.
And it frustrates the heck out of people like Adam and me, and we all love the unfiltered stuff. But it may not be the best thing for cohesiveness, especially for a new coaching staff in a new era and a team that's struggling.
And you're absolutely right about that, Willie. I was taught when I was a young player, when you're doing interviews, when I started to, now I got to start doing all these interviews. But what I was taught is, listen, you control the interview. You, not the person that's asking you the questions. You control the interview. If you want to sit there for 2 or 3 minutes and think about your answer, you sit there for 2 or 3 minutes because that person ain't going nowhere. He or she wants your answer. And you can answer questions in such a way that you give them what they want, but not too much. Again, I'm going to repeat that, Will Levis. You can give them what they want, but not too much, because you gave them what they wanted, but then it was like, I think I need to say something. It's like the old, what do you do with your hands? Joe Rexroth, what do you do with your hands? It's like, he's like, what do I do with my voice? Do I say something else? Do I not? And he just spilled it out. Stop. Don't. You control the interview. You, the player. Because Will Levis, anything they ask you, you can sit there for 5 minutes and think about your answer. More than likely, that person ain't going nowhere. They're not, because they want a question to what they're saying. So you control it. Don't give nothing that they are not asking for. Don't give anything that they are not asking for, Will Levis, or either Holt. You do it too. Because what happens is you give them fuel to whatever article they want to write. Just like Adam said, at the end, it's like, oh, we're just going to dump this in there. Here,
we'll dump out the notebook.
We'll dump out the notebook here and there. This guy said this. This guy said that. Who needs that? Now you cause a problem that shouldn't have been caused. They should get in front of the team sometime today or this week and say, hey, listen, guys, I know you have an obligation to the NFL. I know it says that in your contract. You have an obligation to media members when they ask for you to talk. You gotta, but remember this, you control the interview. So you give them as little as possible in answering their question. Give them sort of what they're looking for, but don't give them the whole meal. Will Levis, you're giving them the whole meal and some dessert. It seems like a lot of y'all are.
615-737-1025. We'll continue this conversation next. Tune into 1025, 1063 The Game tomorrow for Vanderbilt football. The Commodores will take on Ball State with pregame beginning at 4:30 on 94.9 The Fan, moving to 1025 The Game following the Preds game. Vanderbilt football kicks off at 6. Coverage is also available on the 1025 The Game app and at thegamenashville.com.
good for everyone to see, to hear from one voice, O-line included, of, okay, does everyone see this coverage? Do we all see it the same way? And I think that for everybody was the best, that we all sat there, we looked at it. Okay, is this a coverage? Is this bad scheme? Or did we just lose on the right tackle or the left tackle or something like that? And this is why the ball didn't come to you, just so that everyone can kind of get the holistic view. So I wouldn't say there's any aha moments. I would say it was more just, okay, we all see that. Yep, we were good. So it was just kind of, I think, if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, normally after on Mondays, we meet for 20 minutes-ish as a unit, kind of review the highlights of the game, the lowlights, kind of those kind of things. And Brian and Bill and I were just kind of sitting around and said, okay, let's put everybody together. Let's watch them. Let's watch a little more, spend a little more time together as we did. So it was kind of a staff. We all just said, let's make sure we're all on the same page.
That was Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator Nick Holz saying that the entire offensive staff sat down earlier this week and watched every passing play.
Again, that's cover your ass. That's what it is.
Is that a common occurrence, though, Derek?
What he said in regards to, because he did mention, we do get together as a unit after the game Mondays, and we will watch, 15 to 20 plays, highlight plays, or sometimes it's not really. It was never truly highlight plays for us. It was, okay, things that we need to get better at. Yeah, we need to do this, but they would show some plays in there where we capitalized, but he would, the coach would always say, listen, but this over here and this over here. So it was kind of a mixture of both, but it was roughly about 20 plays, somewhere around there. So what he said in there, yeah, that happens. That occurrence happens a lot with every team. I think it happens just about every week, if not every week. Did nobody ask you about the other stuff? Again, it's just you offering up things, and I know why you're doing it. I know why you're doing it, because you want to, hey, listen, this is what we're doing, y'all. This is what we're doing, media. This is what we're doing. See, we're doing the things necessary to win games. It'll bounce our way eventually. That's what that's about, because that's not about your players. Because if it was truly about your players, you would have left it in the locker room. Again, they didn't need to know that. I'm sure they probably asked a question that sort of would go along those lines, but you didn't have to say that. You could have said, hey, listen, we go in every Monday and we look at about 20 plays and we correct it based upon that. Some plays are explosive plays that we want to talk about, and some plays are plays, hey, listen, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to do. You don't have to sit there and say, yeah, we went over the whole tape with everybody in there. Because now it's, I'm covering my ass. Well, hell, the quarterback already tried to cover his. The receiver covered his. So I might as well cover mine now.
Here's another aspect of it to me in the Bill Belichick school of controlling the message, narrowing the message, who's giving the message. That's a first-year offensive coordinator who is a relative no-name across the league, right? I think it's different, Nick Holz doing this as opposed to Bill Callahan, right? When Bill Callahan has this little powwow about the offensive line, Bill Callahan has a lot more credibility, whatever he says, right? Because he's got a lot of success. He's got a lot of tenure in the league. He's also got a lot of experience doing press conferences. So I think he comes across a lot better in those settings than Nick Holz or Brian Callahan, for that matter. So I think that's where less is more is probably better off, and also having a better feel for what am I okay feeding the media, and what do I need to absolutely keep behind closed doors? Because I think the more you talk, when you're 1-4, people, if it's, if you were 4-1, people might be eating it up and saying, oh man, this is brilliant what they're doing. That meeting, they looked at every pass play. That was awesome. What an amazing coaching staff. But when you're 1-4, you could take those same words, the same things he's saying, going, man, this isn't good, man. They're 1-4. Maybe you know what I mean? That's like, this is you're better off not saying anything.
Here's
to the media, right?
No, you're right.
Do whatever you need to do behind closed doors. but you don't have to share it with everybody.
No, you don't. And Shannon Sharp said something like a couple of months ago. And nor it may have been last season, one of the two, but it was during football season. Let's just say that, or right leading up to football season. And he said that because he played under Shanahan and whatnot, and he said, listen, what we didn't allow in a win, we don't allow in a loss. What we do when we're winning are the same things we do when we're losing. Nobody needs to really know. He didn't say that part, but I'm just throwing it in there. Nobody really needs to know what we're doing, because if we were winning, we wouldn't feel the need to have to say, Holtz wouldn't have felt the need to have to get up there and say, well, this is what we're doing now. And I get it. It may have been prompted, but this is what we're doing now. And everybody sat down. Like Willie said, when you're 4-1, you don't feel the need to do that. You don't. Even if you lose a game, you don't feel the need to do that. But when you're 1-4, now you're trying to, So what happens if y'all lose this Buffalo game? People are going to bring that up. Them journalists are going to bring that up. Well, it must didn't work. Are you going to go back and look at it again? Or is this going to be an every week thing with y'all now?
This is the
so
point.
You're opening up doors you don't need to open. All right, keep all those doors closed. There should be one main door with one main message, at least from the coaches. And if your players are buying in, there's one message, one door, one voice. It may be a lot of mouths, but there's one voice. And this voice is, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. We're going to continue to keep our nose to the ground. We're going to continue to work hard. Yeah, we got some things that we need to clean up, but we're going to continue to try to do what we need to do to win football games. That is the message that you heard come out of a Mike Vrabel locker room until they wasn't doing that no more.
Ben is on our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Ben, go ahead.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Great to hear from you all. I'm a transplant Patriots fan. I'm just going to say that up front. But I love the comparison that you guys are making, because that's exactly what I was thinking the whole time you guys were having this conversation is, you don't hear that coming out of the Patriots locker room, right? And the Patriots, my Patriots are awful this season, as we expected them to be. We started out the season with Jacoby Brissett, who is awful. Drake May clearly outplayed him in the preseason, but yet we sat him. And a lot of Patriots fans were concerned about that. I think that was the right thing. I think they still should sit him, because I don't want to spoil them. But I draw a lot of comparisons to the Titans and the Patriots because I feel like they're in similar situations for different reasons. My question is to D-Mace is, having been a player, having been in these locker rooms with your experience, right? What do you think that a lot of the transparency that we're talking about with the Titans right now is spurred on by Amy? Like she wanted that kind of transparency because she wasn't getting that from Vrabel, and it's causing this blame game to go around. Because you're 100% right. They should be tight-lipped. It should be one voice. And as much as Bill got criticized for that in New England because it was hilarious after a while, and those of us that enjoyed it loved his press conferences because he wouldn't give the media anything. But it was always one voice. And the players, they followed in suit. So do you think that a lot of this is predicated by Amy, or Amy is asking for this, and that's why she chose this group of young, front office kind of guys, and she didn't want the more experienced guys? I'll hang up and shut up.
Thank you, Ben.
Thank you, Ben, for your call, and thank you for listening. Continue to listen. I'm not sure when it comes to Amy, but I know what has been said since they started making changes, transparency, collaboration, we're working together, all this other stuff. Sometimes you don't need transparency. Only transparency you need is within that building. That's all you need. You don't need transparency. You give the media as little as possible. Give them as little as possible. Like, I'm just gonna give you a couple breadcrumbs. That's you can ask me the same questions in a million ways, but I'm gonna give you the same old breadcrumb.
And you don't have to be Bill Belichick.
Yeah, you don't have to be an ass about it.
Right, you just grumble.
Exactly.
But think Floyd Reese or Jeff Fisher. And there's plenty of others. Barry Trotz.
Yeah.
Barry Trotz has, like Bill Callahan, a lot of credibility. He has a lot of experience knowing how what he's going to say plays. So you can be open, you can be talkative, but you are very precise in your own mind. What am I going to say? How is it going to play? Good and bad, right? You have to be able to say these are really good things, but this is where we're not getting it done. But it is a skill. It just shows you how important that is, really. And I think these new coaches are learning that, and if they can survive for 4 or 5 years, I think you will see them evolve in how they do this. They're going to learn.
They should, GMs and owners, and maybe they do, I don't know. They should do exactly what these political entities or political people do, right, leading up to like a town home. I mean, what did they call it?
Town hall.
Sort of gatherings, or if they're doing these one-on-ones or they're doing these debates. What do? They prep them. They ask them the hard question. Let me see how you're going to answer that. That's what maybe the owner should do. Okay, we are 1-8 right now, and these are the questions. Give me your answer. And you start answering, then I come in with another hard one. How do you answer this? Because that's critical in how your team is perceived. Again, you don't want to dump out so much where you've opened up the house to everybody to look in. This ain't no open house. You ain't trying to buy nothing up in here. Exactly. Especially when you're struggling. You ain't trying to buy nothing up in here. So I ain't open up my doors for you.
Did you see what happened with Jerry Jones earlier this week?
Oh, big time. Yeah. All right. So Adam, as a journalistic side of this, when you hear this discussion, what comes to mind for you? Because you've seen this.
Yes, I have. And this Jerry Jones story, he does multiple interviews, I believe, with the Cowboys flagship radio station every week. It would be similar. It is similar to what Barry Trotz does. Barry Trotz appears on this station every week with Jared.
But Jerry Jones, of course, is the owner of the team
and the GM.
And I believe the owner of the radio station. Right?
Yes.
Does he not own the radio station?
I believe he does. And
actually owns the station. Doesn't
I don't think he owns the station.
No?
Well,
that's what I thought.
Well,
I think they're the flagship.
The reason why it comes up is because in his interview this past week, the hosts were grilling him about the state of the Cowboys. And Jones got very agitated. And one of the points he made was, I don't want to be asked these questions by people on my payroll. Right. I pay the station, you work for me. I believe that's how it goes. I may have those facts incorrect, but that was the issue, is he didn't like being asked these questions by
the home team. Like this is supposed to be,
it's supposed to be a hometown radio station
where I get my message out, and the questions need to be according. And there's a happy median here, don't you think?
But to Derek's point about GMs and owners being prepped ahead of media sessions, I remember watching the off-season Hard Knocks with the New York Giants, and they had a clip from the NFL Combine where Joe Shane, the GM of the Giants, was sitting on a couch with one of the public relations communication specialists of the New York Giants. And he was prepping him. He said, you are going to be asked questions about Saquon Barkley. Here's how you should answer those questions. And they showed clips of him practicing the answers with the communication specialist, and they spliced it with him actually answering the questions at the news conference. He's like, here's how you should answer this
really
question.
Interesting. Because that is what
but that's what you should do.
Yeah, that's what a lot of teams
because
do.
the message that is coming out, it will either help build up your franchise or it will doom your franchise. It will help build up your team or it will doom your team, or it will give you ammunition or will give others ammunition to sort of throw back at you. So to me, that goes along with the Will Levis thing. You got to know when to stop, when to, okay, that's my answer. I'm done. You got anything else? I'm done. I don't need to start to think I need to say more and then end up saying something that I shouldn't say. That goes along with Holtz. There are some things that you just shouldn't offer up, even if they ask you. You shouldn't offer those up. So as a matter of fact, now not only does the head coach or the GM, but now we're going to put all the coaching guys in the room and girls in the room. And we are going to give you a tutorial on things you should avoid and things you can answer. I'm not telling you how to answer it, but if I ask you question A, how are you going to answer it? No. Stop. Maybe not give all of that. Maybe just give some of that, not all of it. Okay. Then when you go to answer the question, because you know it's coming up, then when they ask you, well, what are you doing? And things are not going well, then you're more equipped to answer the question now. You don't feel you have to go in depth, or you don't sort of lose context and start talking outside of what they asked you.
So Jerry Jones, to clarify, he said in an interview with The Athletic following his fiery interview on Dallas radio, he said, but the facts are that if I'm going to be grilled by the tribunal, I don't need it to be by the guys I'm paying. I can take it from fans and take it from other people. I take a lot of pride in how fair and how much I try to work with the media. We're brothers and sisters, but I was a little frustrated there today. He says, my point is, and that's from my perspective, there's no question. I'm sure that they would have liked to have grilled me like the fans are thinking. What are you going to do about that? I get it. I get all of that, and really will go along with it. But that was sort of the point. He felt like, you are the wrong people to be asking me these questions. You are supposed to be on my side, is basically.
Well, if the people, that's like saying, Willie,
the wrong ones for doing the questioning is what he said.
If you and Aaron were having a discussion and Aaron said, you can't tell me the truth. Don't tell me the truth. You're thinking like, well, what's going on? I can't ask you the honest questions. It goes along with it. That's like us being in here. I can't ask Willie an honest question about the Predators. He may answer it in a way that is sort of, even keel or sort of in the middle, but Willie is not going to sit here and tell me, no, you don't ask me that. No, you don't do that. Why would you?
I think it's pretty standard that when I think as media has evolved, that people get that when it is a team coaches show or something, and this has been like this for 40 years. I don't think it's changed a whole lot. Would you agree, Adam? Like when on the coaches show, generally speaking, you're not going to get quite the hard-hitting questions.
Correct.
You're going to get in an unfiltered press conference. Fair? Or when
Fair.
you go on, Jim Gray or Jim Rome or whoever you think is the person where you understand going in, you're going to be hit with the hard questions. And the best at what they do are able to handle both situations and handle well. I'm not just talking about the owner or the coach or the GM. I'm talking about the question askers too. I think you can ask great questions even if you are on the team flagship station. I think you can still ask good questions, maybe not drill the guy and be like, oh my gosh, I got to do like Jim Gray. But I think you can ask really good, intelligent, tough questions with tact and get really good answers, even on the team flagship.
And I think that's what they were doing. That's what they were doing.
That's what they were trying to do. But obviously they struck a chord. They just lost 47-8 or whatever it was.
Tails beat.
Yeah.
We'll take it to the bank coming up next. Willie Donick, Derek Mason, Adam Vingan, 102.5, 106.3, The Game.
Derek Mason here. If you've injured yourself in a motorcycle accident, go to lawtigers.com for your free case evaluation. Even if your accident was months ago, you have nothing to lose by calling Law Tigers. Insurance companies want to pay out as little as possible or frankly nothing at all. Law Tigers make sure you get the compensation you deserve and doesn't get paid until your case has been settled. They understand how much your bike gear is worth to you and will help you get it all repaired or better yet replaced. Law Tigers is the resource the motorcycle community turns to when in need. So whether it's to support events, and by the way, don't forget about the Goddess motorcycle show coming up, okay? Don't forget about it, people, because it's coming up November 9th, which is sponsored by our friends Law Tigers. So get your tickets today to make sure you go to the show, which is coming up pretty soon here. But again, it's our friends Law Tigers, November 9th. Check them out with the go to their website at the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com. That's the Iron Goddess Motorcycle Show.com, which is sponsored by our friends Law Tigers.
Here comes the money. And you can take that to the bank. Here comes the money. Money, money, money.
It's time to take it to the bank with F&M Bank here on D-Mace, Vingen, and Donick, presented by F&M Bank. Their mission is to make lives better by making banking easier. David, quickly, let's run through our picks from last week.
All right, so Adam, you had Will Levis, 1 turnover, which correct. Tony Pollard, 100 yards. Sorry.
Very
And
close, though.
Very close, though.
I think he had 93.
Yeah. But the Vols did not beat Florida by 17 points. They did
certainly
beat them,
didn't.
but not by 17 points.
No.
And the Tigers, unfortunately, did not advance. So you have 4 points from that. D-Mace, Chig did not get a touchdown, but Pollard did, and Will Levis did
Yes.
throw a touchdown, at least one. So
Yes.
you got some points there. You have 6 points. Unfortunately, Florida didn't beat Tennessee. They were very close. I wish they would have went for 2, but that's a different story for a different day. Tigers did not win, but LSU did win. They did beat Ole Miss, and that was one of my points. I only got 3, and Willie Rudolph did not go into Sunday's game.
I thought we were going to get one play from
Not
Rudolph,
one
at
play.
least. I thought he would make an appearance.
Mookie, the game 5, he did not get on base at all. He actually, I think, went for 0 for 4, I think. But the Ravens, they did cover against the Washington Commanders, and so that's worth 3 points. So
It's
that
kind
is
of a mediocre week for all of us here.
Yeah, we didn't do so
bad.
good.
Bad week for all of us. But
All right.
your picks.
I will get started. You know where I'm going with this one, folks. Will Levis will
All
commit.
reliable.
Will Levis will commit at least 1 turnover against the Buffalo Bills. Works every week. It works. Was it night? What's the Sex Panther thing? It works
60% of the time. It works
100%
every
of the time. Whatever. You know my point. Will Levis will commit a turnover against let's say the Sabres, the Bills. That'd be impressive if he committed a turnover against the hockey team. Amari Cooper will score a touchdown in his Bills debut against the Titans. Book it. Josh Allen will record at least 3 total touchdowns against the Titans. And Tennessee will beat Alabama this weekend. Those are my 4 selections.
All right, quickly. I got Alabama beating Tennessee. I got Jalen Milroe accounting for at least 2 touchdowns, whether it be run, pass, it don't matter. I have the Tony Pollard over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown. That's it for me.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I got the Predators to win versus that Red Wings.
All right. I am going to take Georgia and the points against Texas down in Austin. And I am this is my old school SEC pride. Like, it's time to take Texas down a notch. You are not coming into this league and going unscathed from start to finish. That ain't happening. Hunker down, you dogs. So I'm taking Georgia and the points. I like the Buccaneers and the points in the Monday night game hosting Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. I feel like the Bucs at home, big national TV audience. I think it'll be a very tight game. So those are my 2.
David?
All right, so guys, I think Josh Allen will throw a pick, his first pick this year against the Titans.
Oh boy.
I think that, what was the other one? You said, oh my gosh. I think Texas actually will win. Go Horns up, baby.
Horns down.
But Uga will not be there, correct?
That is true.
Uga will not be at the game because of travel logistics, not because
He's scared of
Bevo
Bevo.
tried to
He's
gore
not.
him
He's scared of Beaver.
He's scared
at the
of Bevo,
Sugar Bowl
baby.
several years
Goodness
ago.
gracious, Bevo.
I think Lamar Jackson will throw for 3 touchdowns against the Buccaneers. You know, that's my bias coming out right there. And yeah, I think that's all my picks this week.
Uga will not be there because he and Bevo did not get along last time.
The clip is there.
We watched the clip during a break. It's as funny as you remember it. So if you did not see it,
and nobody got hurt,
which is why it's funny.
Yeah.
It's funny now because nobody got hurt. But you see a woman just leap out of frame across the screen as Bevo just appears, bucking all over the place.
Hey,
Oh,
Willie,
man.
does the Stamkos? No, yeah, Stamkos. Does he get his first goal this weekend? You think?
I think you never know when the moment's going to be. I've felt several times like here it is. He's teed up for the shot. There it is. Last night, who was it? It was Matthias Ekholm blocked one that I think was headed for the back of the net. They had it. Ekholm made a great block, so it's going to happen. I'm not worried. Stamkos by the end of the year is going to have his goals.
We shall
Let's
see.
hope it's Saturday.
We shall see
They
what
need it.
happens with the Predators
It's
on
time.
Saturday. They need a win, 0-4 to start the season. The Titans, we'll see what happens with them on Sunday at Buffalo. We will be back on Monday at 11 to discuss it all. Have a wonderful weekend. Stoneman & Company coming up next.
Be love on your people. Have a wonderful and blessed Friday.